I know there was kind of a lot of uproar with how early Corbin and a team like Boyle played each other. Like, and I normally don't agree with, I wouldn't say novice people or outside people, but people that aren't into it, like us three and other people we know. But I had to agree with them on this. There's no way a team like Corbin and a team like Boyle County should be playing each other that early. I mean, you had the state championship game in what, the
Yeah.
second, third round. So I'm going to get your guys' thoughts on the RPI. Whoever wants to go first can.
Oh man, I mean, I think that's that's the $1 million question throughout the state, Corey. You're not
Yeah,
the first person. I mean, when I was at the state championship games, that was the question that came up the most. You know, RPI, how do we improve it? How do we fix it? You know, thoughts about it. Uh, you know, I think with men Phil, we sit a little different because he just hit on we play anybody. So I always know that, you know, the RPI can work in my favor or it cannot. So our approach is always we, you know, whether we are or we not, we feel like we're the best team in our class. So we just let the chips fall where they fall. But that's not the case all the time because sometimes you do end up with the better two teams, not just in 4A, but you can look at some of these other classes where it was some really good games in the second and third round.
yeah. Yeah, you're not
Yeah,
wrong. I was just using him as an example.
yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. But you know, and so it has some glitches to it. You know, when you get into it, it what the biggest thing about the RPI for me is the elephant in the room is its affected scheduling because a
Mm.
lot of people are scheduling for the RPI and instead of scheduling to get better. I mean, Phil's a great example. He plays a tough schedule and he still had a really good RPI at the end. So you can do that. I mean, he plays
Right.
a really good schedule. And I don't know where he was ranked, but he was ranked top 5 in 6A when it was all said and done. And Boyle
Yeah.
County does the same thing. But you know, you get a lot of these teams, they strictly schedule for the RPI. And you know, and of course, you know, we sit there over there on Muhammad Ali Boulevard, and we like, okay, here we go again. We got 10-1, 11-1, second round of the playoff, but body of work don't say 11-1 to us, you know, and that's not disrespecting them. It's just when
That's true.
we look at that schedule. You ain't played the people we've played.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
Go
you
ahead, Phil.
know, so people would say, I felt this kind of a little bit. People say the same thing about 6A. Oh, the state championship game was the week before with Trinity and Douglas. And so I heard that, and the reality is, once we get going in the season, even with the RPI, it's just you got to play whoever shows up,
Exactly.
and you got to beat them anyway. So, if our path, was easier than somebody else's path because of RPI, it wasn't like I was the number one RPI. I played who was presented to me each week, and I felt like we belonged in the state championship. I think we did well. Obviously it didn't go the way we wanted, but it wasn't like, it was 52-0 in the state championship game.
Right.
We had them scared.
Yeah.
Attrition got us, which is going to happen a lot when you play Trinity. But I still felt like, and I still feel like you got to play when you get to the playoffs, you got to play who's lined up across from you, whether it's
Exactly.
dictated by the brackets only or by the RPI or whatever. One thing I will tell you is next year I play 3 state champions in a row to open the
Wow.
year.
Wow.
I play the 6A state champion, I play the 4A state champion, and I play the 5A state champion my first 3 games. And then I play Ballard, who was in the semifinals with me in week 4. So my RPI could be super low. I could be 0-3, and that's okay because really I need to get to week 15. Ultimately,
Mhm.
that's all I'm trying to do anyway. We
Right.
didn't win our district this year. And I told our kids that this district, the one thing the RPI has done is made the value of the district championship for some districts not that valuable. You know, where when I got to Bryan Station, they hadn't won a district in so long that winning the district championship my first year was like huge. It was like winning a state championship.
Right.
And then, you know, after you do that a few years, year 4, the year we're in the state championship, we're the district runner up. You know, so it devalued that a little because ultimately Douglas and I very easily could have been in the state championship game together.
Yeah.
So, you know, the RPI is what it is. I don't know, you know, I just do what they tell me to do kind of deal. I'm always going to schedule like I do. And I either make it to 15 or I don't. You know, I think that teams that get used to being in week 14 and 15 are the ones that show up there anyway. I
Exactly.
believe that. I think that breeds appearances in the state championship. If you look at the state championships, the Centrals and the Boyles and the Christian Academy of Louisville's and the Corbins and the Bowling Greens, they're in there every year. The big 3, they're in there. You know, one of those teams are in there every year. It's because that's just what the program is about. Regardless of RPI, now when we start next year, our goal is to be in the state championship game. It's a little bit different with or without the RPI. So I'm indifferent. They tell me we got to do the RPI, great. I'm going to try to win as many games. Hopefully my RPI is high.
Yep.
If it is, great. I might get a home game that I wouldn't have got otherwise. Hell, this year I was on the road week 2 and then back at home for the regional final. So you just never know.